we surely would like there to be a system of reform and accountability which goes beyond one Shohini Mukherjee, one Aarushi, and some of you here may have got involved in this process because of the case of Aarushi, but once you are here, one can move on and take this struggle to a much larger level, and I hope that really happens. We are running short of time, so we have Shohini who will speak now, and then after that we'll have a brief question-answer session with the audience.
Thank you very much for asking me to speak here. You know, I have been observing this case very closely, and it has nothing to do with any personal connection to the family. I had got to know them very recently under tragic circumstances when the conviction was actually done. But the first article that I wrote in the Hindustan Times, I wrote actually in 2008, in the very same month that Aarushi had been killed. And like Kavita, what inspired me to take interest in this case was what Gurdarshan Singh was saying on television. And I was absolutely shocked. Not just at the salaciousness of his innuendos and suggestions and saying that the father was as characterless as the daughter, they were found in objectionable but not compromising positions, but at the idea that an IG of police had solved a case even before he had investigated it. I mean, how did he come to this conclusion even before the investigations had begun? And then, of course, there was a furor about what he said. Everybody was rightly and legitimately quite scandalized that, the remarks that he had made and, all kinds of things happened. He was probably transferred. But something very insidious happened, and that is the insinuations that he had made. They continued to play in the minds of people. You know, this whole story, this narrative, and we have seen how far this narrative has gone. This narrative is now the crux of the story. Because without the narrative of Aarushi and Hemraj being in this objectionable but not compromising position, even though I have no idea what that means, that is the crux of the matter. Because that is supposed to explain the grave and sudden provocation by which he was killed. And this, despite the fact that the DNA and blood of Hemraj is not found in Aarushi's room. So, and the explanation that the CBI gives for that is that they dressed up the scene of crime. The judgment seems to be believing that story, that it was dressed up, they dressed up the scene of crime. Now I ask you a simple question. If indeed the parent, the father, because of grave and sudden provocation killed his daughter, and then you have to be a really trained murderer to go around dressing up the scene of crime, having your wits about you, getting, making sure that the body of Hemraj is taken up to the terrace, and many newspapers have given us the impression that the staircase to the terrace is from inside the house. It is not. I understand that because it's very much like the layout of my own house, where you have to go outside, drag the body up the stairs, leave the body there, put the panel of the cooler over there, come down, and your body, your clothes must be all soaked in blood, and then you have to bundle up those clothes, go out of the house, get rid of them, because nobody found them. You expect me to believe this cock and bull story? I have come into this case, I have studied it carefully. I don't need anything other than common sense, because I'm not a legal person. I do not understand legalese. But I must say that many of the lawyers who are involved with the case have helped me understand it by giving me certain kinds of, making certain kinds of documents available to me. Some of the papers that I saw was also a correspondence that Rajesh was having with the CBI, the first team of the CBI, asking for the touch DNA test to be done. The touch DNA is a very sophisticated test, and if there is an object that has been touched by a number of people, the touch DNA test is still able to find out the, fingerprints. It beats me why would a father who's killed his daughter go out of his way to tell the investigative agencies that please, do a superior test so that I can go to jail? It doesn't quite add up to me. Where the case the CBI has really won, it's not something that they have plotted and planned entirely on their own, but through strange convergence of circumstances that a certain prejudicial mindset actually spread like poison through everybody. People were convinced. There are many people who tell me, even now, oh, the parents have done it. How do you know? We know. You see, nobody can know because nobody was there. And there's a very famous film called The Thin Blue Line, which talks exactly this, that if you were not there on the scene of crime, you don't know what happened. And your ethical responsibility is to say, I don't know what happened. And then start from that point on. Instead of doing what television reconstruction does, it tells you what happened when you weren't there. So people have a narrative in their heads, even without being there. So you're not even leaving yourself open to the idea, that there could be some other way out of this. Now, what's worse? Even the courts don't seem to believe in the idea of reasonable doubt. Now, the closure report clearly says that we cannot pursue this further because there's insufficient evidence. Then the magistrate is within her rights to say, no, there is prima facie evidence. Now please, proceed. Now, the CBI has a difficult task of turning speculations into evidence. How do you do that? Now, I have kept a meticulous newspaper archive of all the, reports that have come out. Hindustan Times carries a story that the killer wore gloves, but we haven't found those gloves. If we find the gloves, it will be a very important finding, because that will solve the question as to why the fingerprints weren't there. This sounds really like a comedy show. And if it did not involve real lives and the tragedies that befell on the family, I would actually laugh about it, but it is not laughable simply because it is so tragic. The other thing that went, I think, against the case is that certain questions that were repeatedly answered by the family, by the defense lawyers, by everybody, kept circulating, router activity. The closure report has explained about the router activity. The closure report actually explains to you that this is not any evidence, we cannot take this seriously. But the magistrate Preeti Singh, when she is passing the order, says the router activity is not explained, but it is explained in the closure report. So it is like a crazy jigsaw puzzle. Things that are apparent to me, and I'm not even a legal person, I cannot believe that legal professionals cannot see those ideas. And then they talk about the whiskey bottle. And in fact, one of the Hindustan Times articles talks about how the killer wore gloves. It's the same old glove article, and it says that they wore the gloves. That is why you could not find the fingerprints. Now, I can say this about anybody, that you came to my house and you burgled my house and you wore gloves, and that's why your fingerprints were not found. So what if I do not have any evidence against you? You did it because I think so, I don't like your face. It's a bit like that, But what the newspaper sadly did not report, and I think Aviduk Sen is the only person who went to the court, and I haven't met you, but I'm seeing you today for the first time, I've only read what you've written, is that every day he would write from the courts and tell us what was happening. And if you were to read what he wrote, the absurdity of the situation would be entirely clear to you. Now let me talk about the whiskey bottle. Not only were there no fingerprints found, there was no match found. So how is it possible? And there is this narrative that the CBI gives that the killer must have been really nervous and then he drank from the whiskey bottle. Well, the whiskey bottle was sent for forensic evidence, saliva,